Historical examples of the Hawkins scale. Hello, this is Chris speaking with a second video about David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, his calibrations, and the first video was an introduction, a little bit more theoretical, but to bring more color and substance into the topic, I want to introduce some examples today. Historic examples of who was where in the Hawkins scale. I will not bring examples of below 200. There were many. Take your pick. Then between 201 and 299, not so easy to find examples. The author Henry Miller, for example, the scientist Richard Feynman, the philosopher Thomas Hobbes. Then between 300 and 399, Pablo Picasso, the artist. Then Nathan Rosen, the scientist. Kurt Gödel, the mathematician. H.G. Wells, the author. Carl Gauss, the mathematician. René Descartes, the mathematician and philosopher. Giordano Bruno, the scientist. And as I said, many speakers and coaches right now. Then to the juicy part, 400 upwards, 400 to 499, Alan Turing, the mathematician, Albert Einstein, Werner Heisenberg, Erwin Schrödinger, the scientists, Buckminster Fuller, the scientist, C.S. Lewis, the writer, Aldous Huxley, the writer, Paul Twitchell, founder of a spiritual tradition, Albert Camus, the philosopher, Aristotle, the philosopher, ancient Greek philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher, Rudolf Steiner, the philosopher. Then 500 to 599, Philip K. Dick, the author, J.R.R. Tolkien, the author, Mother Teresa, Frank Herbert, the author, Wilhelm Reich, the psychologist, Teilhard de Chardin, the philosopher, Thomas Merton, the author, Gregory Bateson, the author and philosopher, Jiddu Krishnamurti, Alan Watts, John Bennett, a lot of Sufis like Omar Khayyam and Inayat Khan, then William Blake, Samuel Hahnemann, the founder of homeopathy, Antoni Gaudi, the architect, Emanuel Swedenborg, the philosopher, Carlos Castaneda, and some ancient Chinese philosophers also like Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi. Then 600 to 699, Osho, Susan Seagal, Carl Gustav Jung, Anthony de Mello, Sri Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Sri Ramchandra, both the founders of Sahajmarg, and the mother, and Swami Yukteswar. Then examples of 700 plus, above 700, Sri Aurobindo, Meher Baba, Bernadette Roberts, UG, Shivapuri Baba, Tatwale Baba, Swami Vivekananda, Lahiri Mahashaya, and Sri Ramalingam, the Sri Ramalingam of Tamil Nadu. So this is a short list of examples of who calibrated where. I chose only historical examples, not anyone who lives right now. And this is of course not an exhaustive list, these are just a few examples. To give you a better image and understanding of what the Hawkins scale means. And what does it mean to calibrate on the scale between 600 and 699, for example? It means that most of the time, this is where someone calibrated. This is where the focus of consciousness was most of the time of their interesting part of their lives. Of course, they were not born like that. What I'm talking about here is the important part of their creative period for which they became known. Of course, they were in lower calibrations before, or maybe meanwhile sometimes, and they might have been in higher calibrations for a short period of time. But most of the time, for how and why they became known, they were in that area, and it's always in hundreds. Yeah, it's very difficult to say someone is at 675 or something. That's usually you're in the area between, for example, 600 and 699, and it's fluid. It goes up and down. It's not one state. It's more dynamic. And as I always say, and I repeat it again and again, this is not a way to judge people. This is not meant in a judgmental way. This is just to have an orientation. What means what? A little bit similar to centers of gravity in spell dynamics. And in the next video, I will make a video about similarities between spell dynamics and the Hawkins scale. Okay, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me as a Patreon. Thank you for liking, subscribing, hitting the bell button, and see you soon.